You are listening to The Thought Leaders Show with the world's cutting-edge, hottest innovators, influencers, and impact makers today. If you are looking for inspiration and motivation, listen in. Welcome to The Thought Leaders Show. Now, here's your host.
Hi, this is Tammy Patzer, and I'm really excited to introduce today's guest, Jena Rodriguez. Jena is a brand strategist, business coach, and founder of Brave Masters, previously Brand with Jena. Jena is committed to boosting brand clarity, catapulting profits, and unleashing the potential of entrepreneurs internationally. She takes you from so-so to wow in your business. Jena has helped clients surpass multiple six figures and 800% increases in their businesses while generating more than $1 million in 4.5 years in her own. She teaches service-based business owners how to capitalize on their natural abilities and package and price their greatest strengths so that they can create a money-making, world-changing brand. Welcome, Jena.
Hello, how are you? Thank you so much for having me here. This is awesome.
Thank you. Well, congratulations. I know that you've just returned from speaking at the Harvard Faculty Club for the Business Experts Forum. So tell me more about who you help.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was such a pleasure to be able to stand on that stage and you know, the perfect person for me to really support at the highest level are those service-based entrepreneurs out there that are ready to really up-level their business results and connect fully to their potential. I am all about moving people through their unrealized potential into what they can really do for themselves if they get their brave on, right? And really master the business acumen that I know is required to have a successful business. So that's who I help primarily.
So to become a brave master, I just love that. So what would you say are some of the biggest issues preventing people from, like you said, getting their brave on?
You know, I think for me, what I notice is people's confidence is not always at the highest level. And I think that's what Brave is all about is doing it anyway, right? Doing it uncomfortable, doing it despite the fact that you may not have all the answers. And yet when I work with clients as a business strategist and coach them through not only how to articulate their brand, because that's usually a lot of the missing elements, is they don't know how to speak about what they do. They don't know how to elevate their perceived value in the marketplace. And a byproduct of that is they don't end up charging what they're worth because they're being reactive to the marketplace versus like really stepping into their value. And so I help them package and price their expertise from that standpoint. And that takes brave. It takes a commitment to being willing to be the first to go to market and ask for the right rate per se, and to really show up fully as your brand. And I think those are kind of the common threads that I see with the clients that I serve, give or take a few. But for me, I always say this is entrepreneurship's not the easy way. It's the brave way. And I believe it's because it's, you don't get to go to work 9 to 5 and just do one task and then go home like sometimes a job allows you to do. But entrepreneurship is about getting really uncomfortable with all the things you don't know how to do and be willing to either do them yourself, learn it and master it, or hire it out, which can also be uncomfortable. So there's just a combination of confidence and mindset and the willingness to do the work that I believe entrepreneurs have to really step into. So yeah, that's the brave way.
It's interesting that you say that because entrepreneurship is not the easy way. That's for sure. There is no 8 to 5. Sometimes you might find yourself working 7 days a week for quite a long time because you're on this mission to create something and you're driven to become whatever it is or whoever it is that you're trying to become. So when you work with someone, what would you say is the main reason that they choose you to help bring them up and elevate them?
For me, I suppose I have a knack for having the real ability to take what people do and explain it, package it, sell it, and create a system, identify the system that we all have inside of our business. So many times our clients come to me and they're like, I don't have a system. I just do what I do, right? I just know what I know. And I said, yes. And inside of that, you have a way, a method, a system that you're doing what you do. And because it's so close to you and so natural, I'm going to pull that out, right? I'm going to really start to put legs on that. And so through my systems of brand clarity and message mastery, and also love thy numbers, because I used to be a controller. So it's very important to understand what a P&L is and count your dollars as well as your metrics. I'm truly able to equip people that are service-based entrepreneurs with those tools so that they can elevate their business and the money that they want to make. I mean, truly, if you're in a business, you got to be making profit. That's the bottom line. Otherwise, you're a hobby, and you can do that too, but don't expect to be able to pay yourself. So that's just really been the knack that I have, is to be able to see that for them and simplify it, and ultimately help them develop their system and their package and pricing of who they are and what their expertise is.
And everybody needs that, because I think, and it happens to me a lot, and I'll think, well, everybody knows this.
Right.
And how come these people are so excited over this when don't they know that that's just the way it's done? I mean,
that's right. That's right.
And then you find out, well, no, not everybody thinks in that unique way. And not everybody has the background, the education, or the life experiences that brought you to this point in time where you truly are the expert. And I think when we were at the Harvard Faculty Club at the Business Experts Forum, we actually witnessed a lot of that from the stage, where these people were like awesome, phenomenal. They had information, they had gifts that were like cutting edge, leading edge. And I know a lot of them didn't even know that what they brought to the table was really top of the line, leading edge information. That's why when I heard you speak, I was really fascinated by that concept of the Brave Master. And also, you recently rebranded yourself.
I did.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that process? Because I think it'll help our listeners to understand about how you obviously had an aha moment when you decided to go from branding with Jena to Brave Masters.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was pretty recent, actually. Moving the company name, the branding, the logo, the visual, and the message, right? Just like what is, like what needs to be said now versus what I've been for the last 4 years. So I was brand with Jena prior, and hold on one second. Excuse me. I had a cough. I was like about to cough all over us. And I, prior to that rebrand, about 6 months to probably about 8 months before I rebranded, I started to really feel a disconnect. And interesting enough, one of the things I do for my clients is have them basically grade themselves on their brand shame versus their brand pride. And to do that is, can you hear me okay?
Yes,
Sorry. Yeah. So to do that, I just say score yourself from a 1 to 10. You feeling brand shame, where you're feeling like your branding's not truly representing you, or you are feeling disconnected from the messaging, and, it's like not landing the way you want it to land, or people aren't perceiving your value the way you want them to perceive it, all those things. And so if you're feeling that, then give yourself a score of 1 or 2 or 3, something down there. And then otherwise, if you are on point, you're on fire, and everything is working the way it should, and everybody's receiving the branding and the brand communication the way you want, and the brand experience, give yourself closer to a 10. And so I did that for myself. I mean, I started feeling some brand shame, and I was like, and so I just let it unfold itself. I knew, it's very strategic about rebranding. You got to be strategic. You can't just one day wake up and the next day start rebranding. So there was a timeline for myself, and I knew that 2017 would be the year that I would rebrand. There were some specific milestones I had to get through. For instance, I had a 3-day conference, that I hosted in March, for instance. And I was like, okay, let's not completely rebrand before that event, because it requires a lot. It requires a lot of change and a lot of editing and all of that, and team and all of that to come into play. And so I strategically planned it for the summer of 2017. And the reason I rebranded is because I was growing up. I was evolving. My brand was evolving. My communication, how I was interacting with my clients was evolving. And I do a lot of masterminds. I have a mastermind program, 2 different levels for that, for different clients. And then I also have, VIP days and things like that I offer. And I just noticed where people were in the clientele that I was attracting. And so the branding just didn't serve me at the same level. And my conversation was bigger, right? And so I've always called my clients Brave Masters. Like, that's who they are in my masterminds and such. That's who they are. That's what I call them. And I was like, interesting. This is who I want everyone to connect to. Everyone that I meet, I want them to get it, that they're a brave master when they're, as an entrepreneur. And so it was just this natural unfolding. And I actually worked with my coach. I have coaches too. And I said, okay, I'm going to give you my questions that I asked someone about a rebrand, and you ask me the questions and see if I can answer them. And so she actually basically acted as a mirror for my own process. And we went through a VIP day to really uncover answers to the questions that need to be asked in order to identify what the new brand wants to be, the new branding. And so anyway, that's kind of the long answer to your question, but it really is a process. It's a journey, and it does take an outside perspective, I believe, in order to really do it right. Because it's an investment. It's an investment in time, money, resources, to get everything, switched over, especially if you've been in business for a while. And sure enough, it's really speaking so much more powerfully to the audience that I want to serve. And Harvard was actually one of the first places I kind of revealed my new brand. So it was really exciting.
Oh, that is exciting.
Yeah.
And I love that process, because you said it. You had your coach mirror back to you your exact process. Yes. so that you could have it, and you recognize that here you were all this time, you were using this terminology all the time, and it made sense to shift because you grew up.
That's right.
And I think that that's part of the process as we grow. And I know myself, I've seen myself change, who I was, what I was offering. And, I've grown over the years, and you're right. You need help from people, especially when you're somebody who you deliver this high quality information to people that can really transform their business. Like when you say to somebody, hey, we can grow your business and increase by 800%. I mean, that is a phenomenal amount of increase. And a lot of people huge. Would be happy, with 10%.
That's right. 50%, 100.
But when you're talking about, changing that is just huge. So when you're talking about, perception and misperceptions or different myths and everything. Because as an entrepreneur, for example, when I first started, I was terrified to ask for money.
Oh,
because I was a newspaper editor and a teacher. Well, as a newspaper editor, you're on the I help people side of the publishing industry. You're not on the money making side. You're on the service provider side. As a teacher, you're on the service provider side, and you never ask people for money. You just give.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the things that I found very difficult. Do you find that that's common for entrepreneurs to start asking for money and then asking for the right amount of money or the value?
Yeah, the right money. It certainly is. It's actually kind of the common thread, and I've gone through it myself. So there's pretty much I would say close to 100% of my clients, or they've been through it. Maybe they've come to me at a later time in their business, but they have gone through it. And if you're at the beginning, I see it all the time where people just don't know how to price themselves because we're so disconnected from our value, right? We diminish it. And so I'll tell you a quick story. One, my own. I started, I was working as a partnered with my husband in a web and graphic design company before I became brand with Jena. And we were doing that business. We ran that business for probably, I think it was like 6-7 years. And do you know that it took me 6 years to raise my rate $8? So we were charging $89 an hour, and I charged $89 an hour for like 5 years. And I finally was like, we have got to raise this price. But I went through all the questions in my head. Will they pay for it? Will they think it's too much? Will we lose clients? Like, I went through all of that, and just to raise it to 97. And I was like, what is wrong with me? And it's kind of like we're so close to what we do that we can't see how to position ourselves in a way that people will see the value, or we don't know how to articulate the value. And so that's a big challenge that I see for people. I hear the question or the comment, if I charge too much, will they, no one will buy, or what if they can't afford it? And here's the truth, people, is there is a client for every price point. There is a client for every single price point. And depending on whether or not you're putting yourself in front of the people, the right people for you and your service and your solution, and hanging out with people that have a mentality about investing in themselves or investing in solutions or what have you. But the truth is that people are what I call purring, P-U-R. They have a prioritization around whatever problem they're trying to get fixed. They have an urgency around it, and they are ready to buy. They will buy. And if they're not purring, they won't buy free. Like, let me say that again. If they're not purring, people don't buy free. We have so much free information being offered to us every day, every second, right? Just go to Facebook. And if you're not purring for that particular solution or information, or I need to know more about that right now, or any of that, then people won't sign up for free. So I think people have to get a new, kind of a new mindset around it. One, and I certainly help people figure that out. And it stems from connecting them to their value. And, and I think another thing that people struggle with about entrepreneurship is just not realizing how many different hats you have to wear, how much you really have to learn, implement, and be in charge of when you get started, from marketing and branding and selling yourself and accounting and operations and client fulfillment, like all these different areas. And, I don't expect anyone to be a master at all of it. But you have to be willing to either hire it out or get the coaching around what you don't know. And sometimes you don't even know what you don't know. Like, it's in a blind spot, which is part of my job as a coach, is to help people connect to that and see around the blind spots. But that's another area that people struggle with, it's pretty consistent with the clients I serve. So yeah, it's a big conversation to have.
I always think it's so interesting about how many people there are. If you even talk to them about becoming an entrepreneur, they're like, no way. I just want to have a job and be able to do the 8 to 5. And yet my entire life was about, oh my God, I want to be able to control my own destiny with what I do. And I always find that very interesting about how many different types of people there are. So around the pricing, because obviously if we have something of value, and I think you said it, there is a customer for every price point. Mm-hmm. And you could even, if you don't price something high enough, you could lose customers who would buy it. But if you don't put a high enough value on it, then they're going, oh, well, it must not be worth anything. And and I've also had situations where I've had clients because I was doing local marketing. I had clients who go, oh, well, I could get that from India or from the Philippines. And of course, no, you couldn't, because you're not, when I give you all of my knowledge, you're getting all of my knowledge. And they didn't even know everything I was delivering, because I probably should have itemized it a lot better. But I was just thinking, I felt like I was a commodity. Do you find that that's an issue for some entrepreneurs, that they don't know how to differentiate themselves so that they're not seen as a commodity?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, absolutely. I think the important thing is that there's a thing called brand positioning, and this is something I certainly support people around, is you get to choose how you show up in the marketplace. It is a decision. It's an intentional decision that needs to be made about the business that you run and about the difference that you're going to make. And so you can be the Walmart in your industry, or you can be a Neiman Marcus, right? And still offer the same solution, the same result, because that's what people are buying. They're buying the result. And if you're showing up as a commodity, then you're not showing enough result. You're showing the how, or you're showing the what, versus like, what's the transformation? And sometimes people, the other side of that is sometimes people that are buyers, right? They're consumers. They are going to have different value systems. There are things that I value that I will pay full price for. There are things that I don't value as highly, meaning I'd rather just price shop. I'd rather go online and see which cheapest rate I can get, right? So notice it's the same thing when we buy a car, right? The car dealers or the car makers have positioned their brand at a particular level, and they align with that through all of their touch points, through all of their experience, through all of their marketing, through all of their messaging. And if you are aligned with your brand position, your chosen brand position, then people will pay the price you ask if they value it enough. So our job is not to go out there and create people, to change their value systems, right? It's about identifying the people that value what you bring and staying steadfast to what you bring, right? It's not about discounting yourself if that's not what you want to do. If you want to be the Walmart of your industry, they are all about the rollback, right? Which is a particular model. And yet they spend millions of dollars to reach the mass market so that they have volume. Right. So as long as there's 1 million people walking into their store and they're selling everything for $1, they are making millions. Right. And so that's the point about you as an entrepreneur, a service-based or product-based, whatever it is, identifying the position you want to play. I call it being, picking your sandbox. And then there's branding strategies and marketing strategies and business, strategy, of course, that's going to help you align yourself with that. And it's so funny because I had a colleague of mine, when I first met her, she showed up in the marketplace. She was online everywhere. She had beautiful branding. It looked very professional, high end. And she's done, I could, as I got to know her, I could tell that she was very well-versed in business. I mean, she has a great story, and she's had 20 plus years of experience and all this. And then there was a point where she was advertising coaching with her, and it was like $50 an hour. And I went, what? Like, I was like confused.
It's a disconnect.
It's a disconnect. I was like, something's wrong with this picture. And that's what you don't want to happen when you are who you are. And just let me say, there are people that do it the other way, and they're not showing up, and they're trying to charge higher. And that sometimes also creates a disconnect. And of course, there's people out there that are trying to charge, astronomical prices, and they don't have any experience or results to back it up. So I know that exists too. And we do need to do our due diligence about people, right? When you're hiring services and such. But there's always, and, for me, I'm transparent. I mean, you have a question, I'll tell you the answer honestly and from my experience. But some people aren't like that, right? And that's who we have to kind of decipher, and move off to the side. But the challenge is that I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't know that they have a choice. Right? They don't feel like they have a choice about their pricing. They feel like they have to price it so people will afford it. That's reactive, right? People are going to afford the things they value. They will afford, notice. I mean, I don't know if you have ever gone through this. I've had people get on a sales call with me and, a discovery session, and they want the help. They need the help, and they would love to work with me, but they're going on vacation next week. So
yeah, and they choose the vacation over the work or working with you because they're that vacation may be I don't know I'll just throw out $5,000.
Yeah, $5,000. Yeah, going to Greece.
Yeah, they're going on this great vacation. But if they would have invested in working with you, they probably could have went to Greece 5 or 6, 7, 8 times.
Exactly.
And people don't always understand the choices they make. We live in that instant gratification world where sometimes we make these decisions, and then there are other times when it's you look at it. Well, I really need to figure this out, to grow my brand and my business because I need to be I want my clients to be people who, for me, my goal is to have clients who really love me and really value me. And of course, to have them pay the right price, and again, the right price means I'm not probably going to be the most expensive. I'm not going to be the least expensive, but they're going to really love the value they receive no matter what the price.
That's right.
Because you're right. People do choose what they can afford. It's just like a designer handbag. Somebody might pay a lot of money for a designer handbag, but yet won't pay for coaching. So
that's right.
Their priorities aren't quite the same. And I'm sure there's value in the thinking in their minds. But that is really interesting.
Yeah, one of and I've had to go through my own money mindset, transformation, meaning I've hired coaches, transformation mindset coaches, in order for me to even move through some of these conversations that I would have with myself and others. And I remember I used to use the same excuse that I hear on the other side of the line called, I just can't afford that right now. Number one, that's not a very positive thinking way to be. So I took that out of my vocabulary, because the truth is it's not whether I can afford it right now. It's whether it's a priority, right? That purring that I was talking about. And I could afford it, and I could find the money if I wanted it bad enough, in my opinion. And so that's what happens is people are like, oh, I can't afford that right now. I'm, re-landscaping my backyard. Right. Well, it's not a true statement called afford. The true statement is I'm allocating my money somewhere else. That's all it is. And which is perfectly fine. Like, I'm not attached to that. But I think the truth is so much more powerful if we were just honest about the affordability of things, is that it's just not now. Right. They just aren't ready to buy right now. Well, and it's a hard conversation to get used to. Right.
Well, I know for me, back in January, and I told people, I said, right now I'm getting a new roof, and that's what I'm investing in, because I had to get this new roof so that I could move forward.
That's right.
Because it was literally, it was a roof over my head, and it was
Yeah, literally.
leaking, literally. And until that got resolved, I really couldn't allocate funds to other things. But once that was done, it was amazing how my whole world, I was able to open up to all these different opportunities.
Sure.
Because that issue was not over my head or on my shoulders. So I really get that. And it's true. With the words we use are so powerful, and I'm sure we could have a whole conversation on just the power of words and how we see things. So would you say, if I wanted to work with you, what would the easiest way to connect with you be and to get started?
Absolutely. So the number one way to connect with me right now is access my website, which is bravemasters.com. And I've got right there on the homepage, there's actually a free online training that you can access. If you just fill in the blanks, fill in the name and email, and it's called Give Yourself a Raise. So I start to give you some strategies around increasing your prices and making more money. And I have things like my podcast that's really inspirational called The Brave Entrepreneur. I've got other online programs and ways to connect with me and, consider booking a conversation with me. All of that's right there on the first homepage, as well as my social media. So it's very simple, easy to get to, and I would absolutely welcome your audience and help, in any way I can help them in moving their business forward and getting their brave on, recommitting, investing in themselves so they can have what they really desire. That's my commitment.
Wow. Well, I'm definitely going to go to bravemasters.com and take you up on that offer so that I can give myself a raise. I love that. And your podcast again is called
The Brave Entrepreneur.
The Brave Entrepreneur. Great. Well, that sounds like an awesome podcast too. But definitely everyone go to bravemasters.com. Do that free assessment, give yourself a raise, that free training, because I'm just listening to you. And again, I had the fortune of being there live when you were speaking at the Harvard Business Expert Forum. And it was just amazing because, you were speaking from that place of, being the brave entrepreneur. And it does take guts.
It does.
To get
it really
out
does.
there and, to overcome whatever it is and then to step out and you do have to learn, maybe you'll undercharge, but boy, just think if you were actually to talk with Jena and instead of going through like I did years.
Yes, let's expedite
of that. Expedite it to, shorten that learning curve of being the person being afraid to charge to somebody who's charging a value to the clients who love you and really get you and want to pay you and who will stay your clients. How cool would that be? Just all of that other stuff. So Jena, thanks so much for all your time today.
Thank you so much. This has been so great to reconnect with you. And, you were amazing at Harvard as well. And I'm just really excited to be able to be here with you today and share some hopefully golden nuggets, to your audience. So.
I know for a fact that I got some gold nuggets out of it because, and this is one of those shows where I should say, hey, Jena, I want to invite you back again so that we can talk more.
Awesome.
Because obviously we run out of time, but I would love to invite you back another time. So thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'd love that. So anytime. Thank you again.
This is Tammy Patzer. Go make it a beautiful day.
You've been listening to the Thought Leaders Show. To get all past shows and to get all future shows, go to thoughtleadersshow.com.